A pair of Steve Madden boots costs $149. The upper is polyurethane-coated synthetic glued to a plastic sole, and within 2 seasons of regular wear, the coating cracks and the sole separates. A pair of Birkenstock Boston clogs costs $150. The upper is real suede leather, the footbed is cork molded to the foot over time, and the entire shoe is built from components that can be individually replaced by any cobbler. Both shoes sit at the same price. One survives a winter, one survives a decade. The price tag does not tell you which is which, the construction does. This video ranks 10 of the most popular women's shoe brands from worst to best, not by price, not by logo, by value, the actual quality of the materials, and the construction measured against what the brand charges. The fiber of the upper, the way the sole attaches, the lining, and the price on the tag, all weighed together. The results will surprise most shoppers. A brand selling designer position shoes for $300 lands in the middle of the list. A brand most women dismiss as ugly or old-fashioned lands at the very top. The list runs from the single worst value in women's shoes to the single best. Number 10, first, the brand you should think hardest about before spending another dollar. 3 things determine whether a women's shoe brand is worth your money, and price is not one of them. The first is upper material. A shoe is only as good as the leather, suede, or canvas wrapped around the foot. Real leather breathes, molds to the foot, develops a patina over years, and can be conditioned and repaired. Polyurethane and bonded leather, the cheap synthetic substitutes, do not breathe, crack at every flex point, and fail in 1 to 3 years with no possibility of repair. The single most useful check is to read the inside tag and find the words real leather or genuine leather. Anything labeled vegan leather, faux leather, or simply man-made is plastic, no matter how the marketing dresses it up. The second is sole attachment, and this is where shoes pull ahead of clothing as a value category because the construction is checkable in seconds. There are 2 ways to attach a sole. Stitched in either Goodyear welted or Blake construction, produces a shoe that can be resoled 3 or 4 times and worn for a decade or more by any cobbler in any city. Cement construction, where the sole is glued to the upper, produces a shoe that cannot be repaired once the sole begins to separate. Look at the edge where the upper meets the sole. If you see a line of stitching running around the welt, the shoe is built to last. If you see a smooth seam with no stitching, the shoe is glued and the timer is already running. The third is the lining. A real leather lining or a natural fiber lining breathes, absorbs moisture, and prevents the inside of the shoe from breaking down. A synthetic lining traps moisture, holds odor, and degrades within a year of regular wear, which is why a year-old cheap shoe smells the way it does. This ranking weighs all 3. Now, the 10 brands. Worst value first. Number 10, and the worst value in women's shoes, Shein. Shein sells the same disposable ultra-fast fashion model in shoes as in clothing, boots, heels, sneakers, and sandals priced between $15 and $40. The uppers are almost entirely polyurethane-coated fabric, the linings are synthetic, and the soles are glued plastic. A Shein boot survives between 2 and 8 weeks of regular wear before the upper cracks at the toe flex point, the sole separates at the heel, or the zipper fails. The cost per wear math turns brutal almost immediately. A $20 pair of Shein boots that survives 20 wears costs $1 per wear. A $150 pair of Birkenstock Boston clogs that survives 2,000 wears over a decade costs 7 cents per wear. The Birkenstock is 15 times cheaper to own. Add the documented quality complaints, the synthetic off-gassing, and the microplastic shedding into every wash, and there is no version of this math where Shein wins. Verdict: the worst value in women's shoes, cheap to buy and brutally expensive to own. Number 9, Steve Madden. Steve Madden is the American fast fashion shoe brand founded in 1990, built on copying designer styles, fast and cheap. The price points sit between $79 and $149, and the materials sit at the bottom of what a brand can use without committing fraud. The upper on most Steve Madden styles is bonded leather or polyurethane. Bonded leather is the term for shredded leather scraps glued together with polyurethane resin, sprayed with a synthetic finish, and labeled in a way that technically references leather without actually being a single sheet of hide. The lining is synthetic and the sole is cement attached. Within a season or 2, the bonded leather cracks at the flex points, the lining wears through at the heel, and the sole separates from the upper. The shoes look identical to designer originals on the rack, which is the entire business model. They are designed to provide the look for a single season and to be replaced. At $129 for a pair of boots that last 6 months, the shopper is not getting a discount, just a faster countdown clock. Verdict: fast fashion in shoe form, priced higher than it deserves and built to fail on schedule. Number 8. Aldo and its sister brand Call It Spring. Aldo is the Canadian-founded mall shoe chain that occupies the middle of the synthetic shoe market, priced between $50 and $150. The materials are mostly polyurethane and bonded leather, with some genuine leather styles mixed into the better collections. The construction is cement attached, the linings are synthetic, and the hardware is lightweight metal that tarnishes within a season. Aldo gets a small bump above Steve Madden because the styling is more conservative and the brand occasionally releases real leather pieces in the higher price tier, but the bulk of the catalog is the same disposable construction at a similar price. The Call It Spring subline sits even lower, with mostly synthetic uppers at a slightly lower price point. For a woman building a shoe wardrobe that needs to last, neither brand delivers. For a single-season trend purchase that the wearer accepts as disposable, Aldo at least uses materials that look acceptable on the foot. Verdict: mall-tier synthetic at mall-tier prices, value math marginally better than the bottom, only because of styling. Number 7. Sam Edelman. Sam Edelman positions itself as accessible designer footwear with boots, heels, and sandals priced between $125 and $275. The penny boot, the brand's signature, is the staple of department store women's shoe walls across America. The materials are a mix. Some Sam Edelman styles are real leather, often labeled as such on the inside tag. Many are not. The lower price pieces lean on bonded leather, polyurethane, and synthetic linings, and even the real leather styles are nearly always cement attached rather than stitched. The brand benefits from a respected styling team and a department store distribution network, which lets the prices sit higher than the construction justifies. A $225 Sam Edelman boot in bonded leather is not a better shoe than a $150 Madewell boot in real leather, and the bonded version will fail twice as fast. The brand is selling positioning, not construction, and the average shopper does not realize the difference until the shoe fails in 18 months. Verdict: department store positioning above the actual material tier, a brand that requires the buyer to read the inside tag and verify before paying. Number 6. Tory Burch. Tory Burch built the brand on the Riva Ballet flat in 2006, originally made in Italy with real leather and a respectable price for the construction. 20 years later, the brand sits at the designer-adjacent price tier with shoes priced between $250 and $450. The Riva is now made in China. Many of the current styles use real leather uppers, but the construction has migrated to cement attachment. The linings are often synthetic, and the production cost relative to retail has widened steadily. A $300 Tory Burch flat in genuine leather is a real leather shoe, but the construction tier sits no higher than a $150 Madewell flat, and the markup over production cost runs 5 to 7 times. The shopper is paying for the designer credentials, the boutique placement, and the recognizable hardware. The shoe is real, the value is not. Verdict: real materials in many styles, designer pricing in all of them, a brand whose construction has migrated below its price tier. Number 5. Haan. Haan is a declined American heritage brand founded in 1928 in Chicago as a men's dress shoemaker and later expanded into women's. Nike acquired the brand in 1988 and sold it to a private equity firm in 2013. Every step since has moved production further offshore and cheaper. Current Haan women's shoes retail between $125 and $300. Most are made in China, India, or Vietnam, with real leather uppers but cement construction and synthetic linings. The original Chicago factory closed decades ago, and the brand still leans on the heritage in its marketing, while the actual shoemaking happens in contract facilities thousands of miles from the city it claims. A $200 Haan loafer today is roughly equivalent in construction to a $150 Madewell loafer, and the heritage credentials are a story rather than a feature. Haan ranks above the brands below it because the leather quality is genuinely better and the styling holds up longer. It ranks where it does, and not higher because the price routinely sits above the actual construction tier. Verdict: real leather declined construction, paying for heritage that has not existed in 2 decades. If this ranking is already changing how you read a price tag, hit subscribe. The Cost Code publishes one new investigation every week. The actual factories, the actual fibers, the actual labels behind the labels. Now, the top 4. Number 4, Madewell shoes. Madewell, the J. Crew sister brand that built its reputation on denim, has quietly become one of the most consistent value plays in mid-market women's footwear. The shoes are priced between $128 and $298. The uppers are almost always real leather, and the construction includes a respectable mix of cement-attached casual styles and better cobbler finished pieces in the premium collection. The styling is intentional, the materials are honest, and the price reflects what the shoe actually is. Madewell does not pretend to be designer footwear, does not hide synthetic in the lining tag, and does not lean on a marketing story to justify the price. The boots and the loafers are the strongest categories, with real leather uppers, sturdy stack heels, and construction that holds up for years of regular wear. The sidewalk skimmer flat and the various boot collections are the pieces longtime shoppers return to. Madewell ranks in the top half because the value math is honest. The price tier matches the material tier, matches the construction tier. There is no large gap between what the brand charges and what the shoe delivers. Verdict: honest mid-market value, real leather at fair prices, the place where the math finally starts to work. Number 3, Quince. Quince operates a direct-to-consumer model that strips out the wholesale layer and the retail markup, and the savings appear on the price tag. The women's shoe catalog is built around real leather classics, Italian leather Chelsea boots at $169, Italian leather loafers at $150, Italian leather ballet flats at $85. Every category lands at roughly 1/3 to 1/5 of what comparable Italian leather costs at a dedicated brand. The leather is real, sourced from established Italian tanneries that also supply designer brands. The styling is intentionally classic, and the construction is competent. Quince is honest about the construction tier, which is good but not premium. Most styles are cement attached rather than Goodyear welted, which means the shoes will eventually fail at the sole rather than being resold forever. The catch is that Quince is online only, the sizing takes trial and error, and the styling is deliberately basic, built for wardrobe foundations rather than statement pieces. For a woman building a real leather shoe foundation at the lowest fair price, Quince consistently delivers. Verdict: real Italian leather at transparent prices, the best entry point into honest leather footwear. Number 2, M.Gemi. M.Gemi is the direct-to-consumer Italian shoe brand that takes the model Quince applies to leather basics and pushes it into the premium construction tier. The shoes are made in family-owned workshops across Italy, the same workshops that produce shoes for European luxury brands, and the prices sit between $295 and $450. The construction is the difference. M.Gemi uses Blake-stitched or Goodyear welted construction on most styles, which means a clear line of stitching runs around the edge of the sole where it meets the upper, and the shoe can be resold 3 or 4 times by any cobbler. The leather is full-grain Italian, sourced from the same tanneries that supply luxury houses. The lining is real leather. The hardware is solid metal. The brand publishes the workshop name and location for nearly every style, which is the kind of transparency luxury brands actively avoid. A $350 M.Gemi loafer compares directly to a $600 to $800 designer Italian loafer from the same workshops. The construction is the same, the leather is the same, the label is the difference. Verdict: real Italian premium construction at half the designer price, the best premium value play in women's footwear. Number 1, and the best value in women's shoes, Birkenstock. This is the position the rest of the women's shoe industry does not want to talk about. Birkenstock traces its origins to 1774 in Germany, which makes it older than the United States, and the construction model has remained substantially the same for 2.5 centuries. The Boston clog retails for around $150. The Arizona sandal retails for around $115. The construction uses a real leather or suede upper, a cork and jute footbed that molds to the wearer's foot over months of wear, a layer of natural latex for cushioning, and a sole that can be replaced by any cobbler when it eventually wears through. The materials are not exotic, they are honest. Cork is harvested from the bark of the cork oak without harming the tree. Jute is a renewable plant fiber. Latex comes from rubber trees. The leather comes from European tanneries. Every single component is replaceable. The footbed can be refurbished by Birkenstock's own repair service or by independent cobblers. The strap can be resecured or replaced. The sole can be re-glued or fully resoled in either rubber or leather. A Birkenstock bought in 1995 is still in service today on thousands of feet, and a Birkenstock bought in 2026 can reasonably be expected to last until 2040 with regular care. The cost per wear math is unmatched. $150 over 2,000 wears comes to 7.5 cents per wear. The same calculation on a $129 pair of Steve Madden boots that survives 100 wears comes to $1.29 per wear. The Birkenstock is 17 times cheaper to own. The styling, long dismissed as ugly or old-fashioned, has cycled into mainstream fashion several times in the last decade and is currently driving record growth for the brand. The shoe is the answer. The cobbler is the warranty. Verdict: the best value in women's shoes, real materials, repairable construction, 2.5 centuries of honest German shoemaking at the lowest cost per wear in the entire footwear market. The take-home rule is the one this whole channel runs on. Price and value are not the same thing. The most expensive shoe brand on this list delivers worse value than a $150 pair of clogs that lasts a decade. Shein delivers the worst value of all once cost per wear is counted. The brands that win are the ones with the smallest gap between what they charge and what they deliver, and the brands that lose are the ones with the largest gap. The pattern is consistent. The brands at the bottom sell trend, image, and disposable construction. The brands at the top sell repairable shoes made from real materials. Before you buy any pair of shoes, run the 3 checks this ranking used. Read the inside tag and verify the upper material. Real leather or genuine leather is the only acceptable answer at any price above $50. Look at the seam where the upper meets the sole. If you see stitching, the shoe is repairable. If you see a smooth glued seam, the shoe is on a timer. Reach inside and feel the lining. Leather or natural fiber breathes, synthetic does not. 3 checks, 30 seconds, and the shoe tells you everything you need to know before the cashier ever rings it up. Subscribe to the cost code. New investigation every week. The actual factories, the actual fibers, the actual labels behind the labels. Drop a comment below. Which shoe brand do you think was ranked too high and which too low? The answers shape next week's video. The price is on the tag. The value is in the leather. Read both.